Hey everyone, it's Miric Abundance and welcome back to another video. We're going straight into the topic. It's why you need to eat less fat and when. I actually realized that there are people who come across my content and they are not vegan and they don't necessarily come from that kind of high carb, low fat community background, which is a big, if you don't know, a big theme in the vegan plant-based movement for good reason. I will, get into that later. And also, actually, there's going to be a video which is going to be titled the opposite way, like why and when you need to eat more fat. And so, it's a very, very complex topic. Since 2013, I've been learning a lot in this kind of topic field. Both personally and experience, the very hard way and the very painful way, but also scientifically. I'm also right now in training of becoming a vegan nutritionist, governmentally approved, scientific base. What I'm about to say is not based on what another YouTuber said or something. So the whole notion of so there's actually two opposite movements. It's like the fat you eat is the fat you wear kind of thing, and the fat you eat is the fat you lose kind of thing. And so it's like some say you need to eat less fat to actually lose weight, and some say you need to eat fat to get thin. And it's like, what the heck? What are we supposed to do? Like, what is right actually? And it can be super confusing, and I get that. I have been there. So what is right physically now? Like, it's the big question. And this all is not focusing on mental health aspects, but more like from a physical standpoint. And I just want you to consider that. I was just sent the post of Dr. Hyman about why we need to eat more fats and why they are essential, and so we just need them for overall health, and especially he was talking about nutrient absorption, lowering the risk of diabetes and of heart disease. Many of these arguments are actually also drawn on by the opposite side of things, like by the high carb doctors, like the high carb promoting doctors. And so it's super confusing. It doesn't make it any easier to decide like what's right now. Both of these movements kind of go into a very misleading, delusional direction. There is some kind of middle ground and balance that we have to find, but then again, it's also not. We can't just say, well, we're just going to do anything in the center, because it does make sense to know what speaks for both sides and then make your own kind of conclusion about it. Fats are important. Fats are essential. Not all types of fats though. There is some essential fatty acids that you have to get from your diet because your body can't produce them itself. And so you have to eat these essential fatty acids. What many people don't realize is that all natural whole foods contain fats, and that is a fact. Like, that's just the way it is. There actually have been studies that have shown that to just 2% of essential fatty acids, which are the omega-3 and omega-6s, are enough to actually meet our minimum requirements physically. We really only need not a lot of these essential fatty acids in comparison to the other macronutrients, protein and carbohydrates. The rest of the fatty acids, our body is able to produce them itself. It is not necessary to actually provide the body. Now that mind you, doesn't mean that we should not eat more than that at all. It doesn't mean that at all. And in fact, it is super important that Like, there is no necessity whatsoever to make sure we are not eating extra fats, that we are eating no more than what the natural foods provide. Many of you guys know that there are plant-based doctors who actually promote not eating any extra fats, like no whole foods that contain the majority of the calories of fats. And that is a very dangerous way to go about it, primarily mentally, but secondarily, or just the same importance actually, also physically, because there's no negative side effects of eating more than our body minimally requires. That's so important to know. But the point is, for example, 20% of your overall calories from fat is plenty, and that includes also non-essential fatty acids, because there's no harm in consuming them, even though our body could theoretically and practically produce them itself. And so you also have to realize more than 20% of your overall calories coming from fat is not bad per se. Like, there is, in nature, we would not know a thing about macro ratios. It is not natural at all, the point where we have come to now, to actually focus on macronutrient ratios. It doesn't really matter as much as we think. And so by these movements, by people saying you need to eat fat to lose fat, and people saying you need to not eat fat to lose fat, it's like this has become such a focus that it is actually harming us both mentally and physically. In terms of diseases like heart disease and diabetes, these types of things, blood sugar issues, it's not primarily how much calories are coming from your fat or your carbohydrates, but it's more so how much body fat we're having, and the overall calories. Like, if we're eating more than we need, then of course there's going to be more fat and carbohydrate, like glucose, in the bloodstream that can actually kind of rival together and cause the insulin resistance. Either it's too much fat in comparison to carbohydrates, and so the glucose cannot get into the cells, or it's, depending on from which perspective you're looking at it, or it's too many carbohydrates, which is the mainstream kind of viewpoint. But you can actually take that argument for both sides. That is the problem here. That's the reason why so many people who eat low carb lose weight, and that why so many people that eat high carb lose weight. But when we look at it long term, what is actually responsible for long-term, lifelong health? What is actually going to support your health, your hormones, your metabolism, also your mental health, and just like your cellular, what is actually natural for your body to consume? If you eat like 20% from not so perfectly whole foods, and that is not going to be the cause of you developing insulin resistance. It's all about the fiber content, the water content. It's all about the how fast your body is actually absorbing and also digesting your foods. And so when we find the middle ground, then actually the absorption and digestion rate is just perfectly right for your body to not have an insulin problem. And so it also actually, plays into your hunger and fullness cues perfectly. We don't actually have to control it externally. We don't have to restrict we don't have to control that kind of thing in any kind of number or macro ratio. And also it's not important to eat whole foods only, and only then your body will know how to deal with these things. That's not how it works, because what matters to your body is actually the overall picture. Like, is there some fiber for the microbiome, from as food, because your gut health is everything? Is this something that I can work with. And it's not about, is this the most nutrient dense food that I can find in nature? Is this the more carb dense or the highest protein or the highest fat food? It doesn't matter. In your gut, everything comes together and your body is perfectly designed to digest and use all of these constituents at the same time. It is so much more complex than we like to think. And so my point is, what matters is what you do 80% of the time. And if you do something, you know, modern that Mowgli wouldn't do in the jungle 20% of the time, then that is also fine. Like you don't have to look at it as a black and white thing. It's the whole kind of mousse that is coming into your gut, into your body, that determines if absorption is and blood sugar control and all of that type of stuff is going to run smoothly and without any complications. And so if you are German, I can really just recommend to you the works of Nico Rittenau. He's really good at explaining all of this. So why the perfect ratio of fat is really, really not important at all. Like, we do not have to know how many calories are coming from fat. Next point is hormones.